Peace, y'all. Hey, I'm Ivory. I'm back, and it's time to eat again. And today, I made some salmon and shrimp Alfredo. I did, and I'm so excited, y'all. I'm hungry. So I also have some watermelon balls right here for dessert. So cute. I have some Blackberry-Lemon water that I'm making today. Ooh, yes. Blackberry-Lemon water. And I cut up the blackberries and squeeze the lemon on top. It looks like juice, right? Or lemonade. I have some Meiomi red wine today. Cheers. Cheers, y'all. And a special toast to Lila, Jay's Life, ASMR Pooh, Nadira Yasmin, and James. Peace, y'all. Cheers. Ooh, this Pinot Noir is good. Ooh. I am so thankful for this food. A little bit of mushroom, a little bit of onion. Ooh. It's okay. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Get y'all another piece of shrimp. My bad. Ooh, it's a big bite. Take the shrimp off first. That's good. It has garlic chunks too. Y'all see the salmon? I don't know if it looks as orange to you. It literally is the color salmon. It's peachy orangey. This is so good. I use the linguine noodles instead of the fettuccine noodles. They're a little bit smaller. It's good. Creamy broccoli. That shrimp is good too. Some medium-sized Gulf shrimp. Mm-hmm. It's so good. I season this with garlic powder and minced garlic, diced onion, basil. It's good. It's delicious. It is. I got garlic all in my lipstick. Okay. It was hot. Cut this grill off. Got some whole wheat pita bread. They're pita pockets, but I just put them in the oven, bake them, and then cut them up. That's good. I love pita bread with pasta. Either pita bread or pretzel bread with pasta. I don't like regular biscuits. Oh, this is good. Open up the pocket. Put some salmon in there. Y'all, and I have to tell the truth. This salmon Alfredo tastes better than the chicken Alfredo. And maybe it's because I haven't had salmon Alfredo in a while. You know, when you haven't had something in a while, you kind of miss it. So it tastes extra good when you have it. So I'm thinking like, I don't know what it is, but this right here, it tastes like fresh seafood, like ocean. It gives me ocean vibes. I use some wild Alaskan sockeye salmon with the skin on. I took the skin off. It's so good. I think that skin on salmon has a stronger flavor. It has a better flavor than skinless. Even though you take the skin off, it still has a different type of flavor. It's a good meal right here. It is. So y'all, today I got up. I slept late today. And it was nice. So I got up. I did my morning meditations, even though it was damn near the afternoon. But I was outside, you know, doing what I do. I went for a walk because it wasn't too hot, even though it was later in the morning / early afternoon. It wasn't that hot today. And so, you know, just vibing, doing what I do in nature. Had a great morning. In a good headspace. Then, you know, I sit down. Chilling. Got my little trees outside. I start watching the news. I like to watch the news. It does feel like it's important, like it's something that I need to be, you know, keeping up with as far as being aware of what's happening. But I actually just like the news in general. But today, it was the first thing that I saw in my news feed online. It was an article about the mayhem in Chicago. Y'all see it? Oh yes. Who needs juice when you can drink detox water every day? Ooh. Oh yes. That's good. And I'm sorry, Maureen. Maureen said she can't do the smacking. Okay. She said, no more. That's enough. Enough is enough. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It comes naturally for me to smack like that. I'm sorry, girl. Either way it goes. So, the situation in Chicago was referenced as a teen takeover. Mayor Lightfoot and Mayor-elect Johnson, they did not appreciate people talking about them Chicago kids. She said, this is not mayhem. Don't call it mayhem. Don't demonize these kids. When the issue is their parents just aren't keeping them focused. This is my light paraphrase. But she did specifically say, don't call it mayhem. She said she's not going to use that type of language. She and Mayor-elect, the upcoming new mayor of Chicago, Mr. Johnson, he was saying that the issue was just that these kids have been starved opportunity. So essentially they're acting out, he's saying. I have to be honest, when I was looking at the clips of the teenagers running through the street, oh, let me give y'all the details too, by the way. Hundreds of them flooded the streets downtown. Jumping on cars, jumping on buses. Weaving through traffic. It was chaos. It was. And Mayor Lightfoot, she might have been light stepping around the topic. She didn't want to call it what it was. It was almost like a mother who really loves her kid. It's like, even if my child is wrong, you're not gonna say that. Don't you talk about my baby. That was kind of like her attitude toward it, because in my opinion, it's a collaborative effort. It should be the city's responsibility and the family of the children's responsibility to help raise these kids. But we're talking about Chicago, Chirac. And if you don't know about Chirac, you literally, if you're in America and you don't know about Chirac, you live under a brick. And you've been under it your whole life if you don't know about Chirac. Those kids are important. I'm gonna put it like that. Those kids are important. It is necessary to analyze why things like what happened this past weekend, why do they happen? Now, Mayor Lightfoot want to say 1, 2, 3, not it. I done put my app online and I done made these little programs. It's up to the parents to make these kids go. She even said something like, it's the parents' fault. And honestly, that was the most common comment among the adults who were speaking out about this teenager takeover in Chirac. They were all saying that it's the parents' fault. And I'm like, I know that there has to be parents in Chicago who are like, damn it, I'm doing all I can do. Mayor Lightfoot and some others, they were saying parents need to take back their kids. Parents need to take back the authority in their homes. Honestly, the culture is so different now than it was when the adults who are adults now, when we and our parents were kids. It's way different than how life is now. And people always say, history repeats itself. Nothing new under the sun. When was there social media before? When was the internet raising kids in the past? Like, what decade was that? When social media had a stronger influence than the parents and teachers. That didn't happen before. That's some real evolution. So I really think that we can't do this. Say, no, it's you. No, it's not me. It's you. It's not me. We can't do that. And I know I'm not in Chicago, but I'm speaking as a teacher and as a parent of teenagers. sometimes I look at my kids and I'm like, where the hell do y'all get this from? Like, what is this? Because sometimes they do things that I never even heard of. The stuff that they talk about, the way that they treat each other. Even my students, especially when I moved to Florida, I'm like, what is it about these kids, like the teenagers? And I, like Mayor Lightfoot, I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna use negative language and labels and demonize these children. I'm not gonna do that. But I am gonna highlight that there's something different about this culture right here. These kids need a special type of TLC. It's something specific that even I, after teaching for 8 years, high school, for 8 years, dealing with these hundreds of teenagers, y'all, I still haven't figured them out. I don't know if I share or not, my bad. I'm going to say this as a teacher of 8 years, a high school teacher, so that's teenagers. My whole career has been about teenagers. I am a parent of 2 teenagers. I know for a fact that it has to be a collaborative effort because kids need consequence. These kids right here, this generation right here, they need the threat of consequence to help keep them in line sometimes. I'm not saying that they need to be getting locked up or getting sent to these massive boot camps, these intense boot camps. I mean, maybe. But what I'm saying is this. Parents do have the sole responsibility, meaning the majority of the responsibility, to help steer and guide your kids in a positive and peaceful direction. But we have to admit that there is a shift in generations to where, as parents, we can be a little bit lost sometimes and not really understanding our kids. One thing I do know about this generation is when you all talk as a parent, as an adult, they don't take you seriously. So something that some of the people were saying on the news was that there's a curfew, but the curfew is rarely enforced. And even when it is enforced, the consequence, if you violate the curfew, are minor consequences. In other words, they tell you, stop hanging out. Now, you know we told you to be in by 10. That's how it gets this bad. Chicago is a different kind of place. You can't do it the same way you would do in other places. Now, I'm in Florida. I'm going to give a prime example of what I'm saying about sharing responsibility. Because a parent can try all that they want to try. And sometimes there is no parent. But at school and in the community, there has to be some type of disciplinary action set in place. There has to be levels to it. The kids have to be threatened with consequence to keep them in line sometimes. The high school that I worked at out here in Florida, those kids would get swats. They would get beat with a wooden paddle. And I didn't know about this when I signed my contract. They didn't mention this in my interview. It was not posted on the website. So I low-key felt like I got played. But after being there, it took probably maybe 3 months for me to understand exactly why the kids had a form of punishment being swats. You got hit with a wooden paddle. Kind of like the one in college that the sororities and the fraternities, the ones that they show off. A big paddle like that. Them kids would get beat with it. And the parents had to sign in the beginning of the year. You had 2 options. Option 1 You want to be notified when your child gets swats. Or number two, you don't need to be notified. If something happens, we can just, go ahead on and handle it. We don't have to call you first. Now, a lot of the parents did want to be called first when an action required physical punishment. But the majority of them parents didn't care. They didn't care. The parents said, yes, beat them. Beat them. You don't got to call me. Do what you got to do. Because they already knew what type of kid they had. I believe that enforcing that 10 o'clock curfew for the teenagers is important. And if they violate, there has to be an additional consequence. There needs to be some laws put in place. They have to. They got to start giving out tickets or something. And what will happen is at first, there's going to be a few of them who are kind of like the sacrifices. Okay? We're going to use you as an example. So that first wave of kids, it might seem like, dang, like they giving out tickets to these kids, or they putting these kids in juvenile for 48 hours, da-da-da-da-da. It wouldn't take long for eventually, them kids gonna start going on that app. Them parents, you have to do your part. If you know you work late on Tuesdays and Thursdays, go ahead and sit down with Kiki and Tony and let them know, like, look, y'all know I got to work late Tuesday and Thursday, so which one of these activities y'all want to do while I'm at work? At least try, talk about it. She made this little app. Maybe it's corny. Maybe it's hot. We don't know. But I'm like, dang, at least she trying. And she don't really seem like she got a whole lot of swag. Like she might make something that's super duper cool, but let the community come together. Y'all come up with something for these kids. Otherwise, they gonna take over Chicago. Just like the I Just Wanna Rock video by Lil Uzi Vert. When I looked at the news, I said, these kids sitting here reenacting this damn hip hop video. Probably subconsciously. I don't think that they necessarily said, ooh, look, y'all, let's go jump on these Hondas just like they did in the video. No, but that mayhem, that chaos, dodging the police, running through the streets, jumping on top of cars. That's the same thing that was in Uzi Vert's video. So they're being influenced from somewhere. In a place like Chicago, you can't even judge them from the outside looking in. I don't judge them. I don't judge either of the mayors, and I don't judge any of the people who are blaming the parents. You can't. Because that Chirac culture is like none other. It's like none other. And all I can do is push peace to those people and push peace to those teenagers. Because I low-key, I understand like how misunderstood they feel sometimes and how they just want to jump. They just want to scream. They just want to sing. They just want to, like, they get lit. Like, that's just what they do. I just wish that there was a way to encourage them to channel that energy into tapping into their goals, tapping into their purposes. That's really all I can do from here. All I can do from right here in my seat is meditate on their behalf and hope that more and more of them will start to tap into their purpose, because all it would take is a few to start a new trend. Mayor Lightfoot, she called it a trend. That what happened in the streets of Chicago over the weekend, she said it was a trend. I believe that, and I agree. I think it's trendy to run wild, purge style. Like they were attacking adults. Women and men. They were attacking women and men. And sit 20 of them down and ask them why. They'll mumble under their breath and look away. Can't even explain it. They just need to be stimulated And honestly, it's a spiritual thing. It is a spiritual thing. It is. So I'm just gonna keep pushing peace to these kids in Chicago. And I think that the new mayor, hopefully he'll have some new ideas. But I do know that there has to be consequences. These kids can't just be, stop. Now we told you to stop. That don't work. They laugh at stuff like that. They need the threat of real consequence. I don't think they need to be getting locked up or abused. I don't think these kids, I didn't even like the school swatting them kids. I didn't like that. But once I got to understand the culture, I'm like, oh, they need that. They need the threat of that. Because as soon as you mention getting swats, that humiliation that comes with being beat with a wooden paddle, they get them in line real quick. I'm pushing peace to these kids. And we'll see what Mr. Johnson gonna do once he get up in there. But he and Miss Mayor Lightfoot, they both agreed that these kids, they're missing something. They're missing something inside. That's why they're doing this. I don't know if they're right or wrong, to be honest. I think it's a shared responsibility. It's the kids, it's the parents, and it's the city. It's the police department. It's the city officials. We got to push the reset button. Try to do it different. Because it's social media. The old folk can't keep up. They can't keep up. I love y'all. And that was not to disrespect any older person. It's not that. I just think that as older people, even my own self, like I'm not older, but I'm not sitting around like staring at my phone, seeing what all my friends are doing all day in these group chats and watching these music videos so that it feeds my soul. Like I'm not involved with that. And I think that that's why it's hard for us to understand them, because our brains aren't enveloped and warped by social media in that way. So we can't really keep up with them. But I love y'all. I'm gonna shut the hell up. Peace.